Good morning, commissioners.
Um,
Afternoon, I'm sorry.
It is Judge. Is it Judge Pakati?
Yes, Chief Justice.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Chief Justice.
Are you well and relaxed or a bit nervous?
I am a bit nervous.
Okay. All right. Let me just try to ease you. You were a magistrate before you were appointed a judge, is that correct?
That is correct, Chief Justice.
For how many years?
I have been a magistrate since 1991
Until?
until 2012 when I was appointed as a judge.
That makes it how many years? 91 to 2012, is that? Is it 11? Yes, okay. And in that capacity as magistrate, did you fulfill some leadership responsibilities?
I did, Chief Justice.
What did you do? Focusing on leadership, what leadership responsibilities did you discharge?
In actual fact, my leadership duties started when I was a control prosecutor,
Yes.
because I was controlling 5 prosecutors.
For how long?
I think it was from 19.
All right, for about how many years?
I was a prosecutor for about 7 years.
Yes, and
And-
control?
And control maybe about 2-3 years, I'm not sure now.
Okay. All right. What leadership experience did you pick up there that you believe is still relevant to the role of a leader of a court?
Communication,
Communication, yes.
problem solving, if
Yeah.
there's problems. And, when there's something that needs to be dealt with as a
Yes.
leader, I would call prosecutors and we would sit and talk, because I believe that communication is the best.
Yes. In which area was that, or city or town or
It was in Butterworth,
Butterworth?
in the Eastern Cape.
Okay, all right. And were you appointed to a leadership position as a magistrate, or did you just happen to fulfill leadership, a leadership role, even if you were not necessarily appointed the leader of court?
I was, after around 90, I accepted the position of a magistrate, and in that space of time, I would, organize training for other prosecutors, and there would be other magistrates who would be newly appointed, and helping them here and there. So
Were you the most senior magistrate, or was there a senior, did you have a senior over you?
at that stage, I had a senior.
Okay, so it is your senior that was the leader.
Yes.
Your leadership
Yes,
role
Judge.
related to training
Yes.
prosecutors. Okay, in terms of running a court or contributing to the running of a court at the leadership level, in what position did you fulfill those responsibilities? Or was it still as a magistrate who has a leader above her?
I was appointed as a head of office when I was magistrate in Brakpan.
Brakpan.
Yes.
When was that?
That was when I came from Justice College. I think it was 1996-7, around there.
'Okay.
And then I headed an office at that stage because the chief magistrate who had taken leave. And after that, I moved from that office and I went to head an office in Maclear in the Eastern Cape, which was a one-man station.
One man or one woman?
One,
One person?
one person.
Yes. Okay, what leadership experience did you pick up that you can share with us
There,
at that stage?
at that stage, I was the only magistrate
Yes.
in the office, and there would be two clerks, one prosecutor, and one everyone. And
Yes.
at that stage, I still would have prosecutors who would come and newly appointed, and you would at least give guidance here and there, not building their case, of course. So that is what I did at that stage.
Have you fulfilled any leadership role anywhere else, maybe an NGO or a body of lawyers or some other structure? And would you want to share with us what leadership principles you picked up and how you put them into operation, something like that?
Chief Justice, before I go further than that, and I would want to also mention that I went to Cape Town as a senior magistrate, and there were two sections. I had my own section, and the other senior magistrate headed his own section.
Yes.
That is also where I, grew up in terms of experience and be in a position to stand up on my own and be able to even disseminate, my own experience to others, and would have meetings regularly so that we iron out things that were not right when we were busy doing our office duties.
Okay. In your own words, what has prepared you for this leadership position, and or how have you prepared yourself for this leadership position? Why do you believe you're ready for it? What do you understand it to entail? How are you going to handle it if appointed?
Chief Justice, I draw my strength from the fact that I started then when in actual fact I was an interpreter and administrative clerk, and when we were prosecutors, the courts that we were working in, that is now whilst you're busy leading a witness, a chicken and its chickens would walk into the courtroom, and goats and all that. And that's where I come from. And I draw strength from the challenges that I went through in the process, and because I did have challenges, but I managed them well because of my being silent, but I make it a point that things get done.
Thank you. Is that all that you want to say? You don't have to say more than you want to say. I'm just affording you the opportunity to say what you believe needs to be said at this stage.
If I may add, even when I got in the Northern Cape, I have been helping in the mentorship. I was mentored myself, and then I also help with the mentorship of the other acting judges. And I have been involved in liaising between the regional court president and the judge president, Homo, and I would get information and have meetings with the judge, with the the regional court president, and I would convey every information. The JP would know everything that's happening in the regional courts. I'm in a position to know problems that are experienced in the Northern Cape in some of the areas, because our areas are far-flung, and the importance of us being there is to get justice to the people wherever they are in the division.
Thank you. JP?
Thank you, Chief Justice, and good afternoon, Judge Pakati.
Good afternoon, JP.
Yes. How do you see your role as the Deputy Judge President? It's a blank check, you can say whatever you want to say as your role as the DJP.
The DJP is a person who should be working hand in hand with the Judge President in terms of disseminating cases in allocating cases to colleagues, and that should be done transparently, fairly, and equitably, and communicate to the Judge President of any challenges, if there are challenges, and or even solve them, because I don't even think that sometimes problems should reach the Judge President before you can solve them. I'll make an example. For instance, in the Northern Cape, there are about 4 acting judges, and JP Homo allocated me to mentor 2 of them, and it so happened that the 2 acting judges came to my chambers, and they explained to me that they were confused because when they came, they were told I was going to mentor them, and now my sister Patswani called them to say she is going to take over, and they asked me, because of that confusion, to approach JP and explain to him. And then I said to them, there's no need to approach the JP. We can solve the problem before it goes to the JP. And I explained to them that because they didn't know now where to take their cases to, in terms of mentoring, they didn't know who was responsible to mentor them, whether it was my sister Patswane or myself. So I said to them, they can subject themselves to mentorship to any of us that they feel comfortable. And thereafter, I informed my JP about that. And he did not say I did it wrong.
I see. At management level, you'll be, if you are appointed, you'll be part of management. What tools will be at your disposal in managing the court as a whole and the colleagues?
The most important thing, JP, in the Northern Cape is the fact that there is a division. And that division needs to be, the gap needs to be closed. And that process needs someone who is going to do that in working together with the JP.
Am I covered? Okay. The norms and standards is the document that you understand. Is that not one of the tools at our disposal as to
Yes.
manage the court?
Yes, it is, JP. It is.
And then we also have the Superior Courts Act.
The Superior Courts Act, yes.
Yes, and the Judicial Services Act is also available to the JP to ensure
Yes.
that the court is run properly. You have touched on transformation, but I see the Society for Teachers of Law says you should elaborate on your contribution on transformation. Would you want to add on to what you have already said? If there's anything.
Transformation in the judiciary, JP.
Yes, I think they said you must elaborate on your contribution towards transformation of the profession.
Oh. I've been saying that I contributed in terms of the two ladies that I mentor are ladies, and one is colored and the other one is black, and I think they gaining something out of that.
Okay. And then do you think that should you be appointed, you will get the support of the colleagues? Firstly, the colleagues on the bench with you, the organized profession as a whole in the province.
I don't see any problem, JP, of the support with my colleagues, because even though I mentioned the fact that there is a division in that division, since you have come and joined us, you have shown us that we don't really need to be divided. You put us together the minute you came. That for us was a positive, it's a positive contribution, because we used to, this group would go that way and the other group would go the other way, and now we all sit together and do things together.
I see. I'm not vying for any higher position. But then having mentioned that, are there other things that you think as the DJP you could improve on? In the
We
division?
could improve, JP, on access to justice, taking into account that our courts are far from Kimberley, and one needs to travel about 800 kilometers into Springbok. So our courts are suffering in terms of the fact that there would be one magistrate maybe in one office, and once that one magistrate gets sick, then the role collapses. So we need to do something about that.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Judge President. MEC?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good day, Madam.
Good day, Commissioner.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to pose a few questions. You have earlier on elaborated on part of the things that you gained when you were in charge of the courts or as a magistrate. I just want to check what combination of qualities constitute a good leader? Because I think the position that you will be that you have applied for is that of a leader within the Northern Cape Division of the High Court.
A leader should be a person who is conscientious, articulate, and diligent in what they are doing, and be able to work with the colleagues and to engage colleagues in a transparent way, fair way, and if maybe you have to distribute work, you do that in an equitable manner.
Okay. Do you regard the retired Judge President of the Northern Cape, Judge Home, as your mentor?
I regard him so high as my mentor.
Okay, so what is your, what do you make of the reflections that Judge President, retired Judge President Home has made? For ease of reference, he wrote you a letter.
Yes.
And then for ease of reference on the conclusion part of it on under 24, he says, finally and in summary, Pakati J is not a participative person Swartzman J, called the Silent One. She has never contributed or engaged when bills, statutes, precedent-setting judgments were discussed at tea or during judges' meetings. She can be very moody and aloof. As pointed out, she has been shown to make elementary but far-reaching mistakes. She lacks in the area of good human relations and emotional intelligence. She lacks all-round leadership skills and qualities. These are some of the aspects that Pakati J requires guidance on, and I hope to assist her with, as I have done from 2009, see paragraph 1 above. What do you have to say about those reflections made on you by the retired Judge President Komo?
Chief Justice, I have prepared a document responding to what JP Komo said about me in that report. And I do have a few copies, if you would allow me, so that you can be able to have an insight in them. Before I
Yes.
yes.
You may distribute them, but what I think the MEC seeks to do is to afford you the opportunity while we are listening
Okay.
to
Before I
set
go
the
to-
record
okay.
straight from your point of view.
All right.
And also to the extent that our website is accessible to the public and they might have read all these things, for the public to hear you
Yes.
explain
All right.
your position.
Chief Justice, I wish to state this, that I hold JP Komo in high esteem. He contributed in me being in this position. This report came as a shock to me. Can I have a moment?
Take your time, ma'am. If you want to go out for a while, do so. We'll wait for you.
Can I try and continue, Chief Justice?
Try and continue, but every time it proves to be difficult, just give me an indication. We'll give you all the time you need to be comfortable.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Yes.
You know, the person that has been described in this record, in this report, is not me. It is definitely not me. I'm just going to make an example about just this period that JP Komo was in Kimberley attending his farewell function. I was on duty that week. I had a number of files to take care of. He arrived on a Wednesday. I went to him, I hugged him, and I greeted him. At that stage, the report was in my possession. If I was this person who's described here, I would not have done that. I left my motion roll on Thursday and attended his function that was hosted by the bar in the Northern Cape. I went back to chambers to continue with my motion. I left my chambers after 3 a.m. The following day, which was a Friday, I attended his function. I even sent a message. My message was read amongst the messages that were read when my JP now was reading messages of those people, those judges who also hold him in high esteem. I wrote as follows: retirement from meaningful service is a milestone worth celebrating. In an age where many start and never finish what they started, pausing and reminiscing on and hailing your achievements is what we do with delight from the depth of our hearts. JP Homo, you have been everything to us: a mentor, a leader, a guide, and a pillar of strength. As you now depart from active service, we wish you a serene and tranquil retirement. We will miss interacting with you in a manner that we did while you were our leader. Happy retirement.
Yes, MEC?
No, thanks, Chief Justice. No further questions from me.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Msomi?
Thank you so much, CJ. Good afternoon, Judge
Good
Pakati.
afternoon, Commissioner.
Judge Pakati, I'm also going to dwell on this because I think it's such a critical document. And I think this is your opportunity basically to respond fully. Judge Homo says in his opening line, you have raised your hand prematurely.
Yes.
Obviously, that leads to a question that says, what interests you about this position? Did he say you were raising the position prematurely and you still went for it? What about this position? Why so much interest in it?
For me, it is important because it's serving the people, the community that I started serving a very long time ago. It's not about me having to have that name. It's a contribution that I would want to make for our people.
Thanks, Judge Pakati. A picture has been created of a spoiled brat, someone who throws her toys out if things don't go her way. What do you respond to that? In other words, it's either your way or the highway, otherwise you're going to stay away from tea for several days and don't speak to people. Is that true?
Like I indicated, Commissioner, I am also shocked with this report because I agree I am this quiet person. But quiet as I am, or silent as I am, I would never, not to JP Home, never. If for instance, if I may make an example, the day he says that I went to his chambers crying and I said why was he comparing myself to Mamusebo J? That is not so. What happened on that day? I had gone to his chambers to lay a complaint that Mamusebo J was disrespecting me. And Mamusebo J before that had complained to him. Let me put it this way. There was a petition that we were doing together. She wrote a judgment. I did not agree with her judgment. And because I did not agree with her judgment, I said to her, I'm not agreeing with your judgment. It's either you look at it again or I don't know what you want to do with it, but I'm not in agreement with you. And then she came to my chambers again and she said to me, she doesn't understand what I don't agree with her judgment, like, in that disrespectful manner. And she said, it's fine, go write that judgment of yours that you want to write. That was what I did not like. So that's what I had gone to JP to report. Because after JP had called me, after she laid a complaint, JP explained to me what she said, and then I said to JP, this is the position. In her judgment, she says that she does not know why the prosecutor said the case was postponed to whatever other date. And I was of the view that the record was straight. There was nothing hidden in the record as to why the matter was postponed to that other day, because apparently she didn't read the record. And in actual fact, she withdrew her judgment and JP co-signed my judgment.
I may be asking you to speculate on this.
Okay, so sorry, can I just finish? And I'm sorry to disturb you. And after I had informed him about that, he said to me, you should tell me about things that make you unhappy, but he didn't come back to me about that complaint to date. And now it's something else. It's me who was wrong. I don't know how I can be wrong when I'm reporting a colleague who is, showing disrespect towards another colleague.
If I were to ask you to speculate, maybe as a matter of fact, why is Homo doing this to you? What is the hidden agenda? Why this report? What forms the basis of this report, as far as you know?
As far as I know, when I came to Kimberley in 2009, I started mentorship for 2 months, August and September. I left and then I came back and started acting on the 9th of November 2009. I acted from that period. Sometimes I had to go to Temba to do my apartheid matters. And my sister Patswane joined us in January 2010. And there was also another judge who also acted there. She's now in KZN. And when Patswane DJP came, when a post was advertised in April, for interviews in April 2011, I applied for Gauteng and she applied for the Northern Cape. And it was, JP mentioned that he wanted to appoint her, and not even the other lady who was also there acting, who was more senior to her at that stage. The reason was, he said, he had handed her. Now, getting to your question, the previous time, what happened was, Patswane DJP applied, and I did not apply in April because I knew that. JP has said it, that this is the person that he wants. So it would have been useless for me to apply at that stage because I knew that he said it. And so I didn't apply. Williams J applied. And what turned out, JP wrote a report again in Williams' case and she withdrew because I believe that Williams J withdrew because she was saying that there's a perception that Patswani J was groomed and whatever. I am saying, because I have been in that division, it's not a perception, it is a fact.
I'm sorry, CJ, to create a dialogue, but it's a matter
No,
of...
no, you are following up. It's, I think it's necessary to clear up this thing.
So is it your contention before this commission that Patswane is the anointed one?
He is commissioner.
is.
I'm sorry, she is commissioner. I will say that even after she did not make it in April this year, after the session, the whole session of the commission, JP phoned me, and he said to me, when I said to him, JP, you know, I heard that Patswane did not make it, and I phoned her and I said, I'm sorry about that. And JP said to me, Patswane shouldn't worry, because even if he goes, her position will be secured.
Obviously, I mean, a conduct of this nature, I think you have said it perhaps not in so many words, but it will appear to me that this document is concocted, is full of lies, intended solely to block any person's way from ascending to the DJP.
Commissioner, you could still use moderate language. There are many ways of putting across your point as effectively as you want to, but once I think it's something else coupled with why is Komo doing this to you? Please.
Just the final question then, you are up against a candidate who has basically acted in the position. Why should this commission look at you favorably? Thank you.
I just want to mention that in the Northern Cape, all positions that are there, be it its library, its case flow management, anything at all, there's only one and only one person who does that, Patswane J. I believe that if you are a leader, you disseminate work transparently, fairly, and equitably. Because once there is favoritism, there will be disharmony in the division. That is what is happening in that division.
Hlope JP.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Judge Pakati, I have two questions for you.
Yes,
The first
JP.
relates to case flow management in general,
Yes,
and with
JP.
specific reference to your division.
Yes,
And the second one relates to the use of official languages in the courts.
Yes, JP?
Let's deal with the first one. If you are successful today, you'll be the second in charge in your division.
Yes, JP?
Inter alia, you'll be responsible for allocating work, or rather assisting the judge president in terms of allocating work.
Yes, JP?
Not so. Given that the resources at our disposal are getting less and less, and we're expected to do more and more, what steps, if any, will you take to ensure that the backlog in your court is alleviated or eliminated, and if there is no backlog at the moment, to ensure that it never arises?
JP, I can say that at this point in the Northern Cape, in the High Court, there is no backlog in the High Court. And apparently we are the ones that are doing the best as far as case flow is concerned, because we have a turnout of 2 to 3 months rather than 9 to 12 months of the turnout. I don't know if I answered.
I missed that. You have a 2 to 3 months. All right, continue, JP.
That's what is in the PEEC minutes, that it takes 2 to 3 months. That is now from the beginning, and then within 6 months, the matter must have been ready.
Can we just unpack that? What tools have been used by the judge president in your court to ensure that you do not have the backlog? That's what I'm trying to get from you.
Okay.
And how would you
The-
improve on those tools to ensure that the backlog never arises again?
There are officers in the registrar's office who use templates in order to, because they don't have the IT system in order to place the matters. So what happens is that the matters are distributed amongst the judges, and each judge is engaged in case flow management. And after that, they go back to the registrar's office. Those that are trial ready are given certificates that they are trial ready.
I think we're at cross purposes. I'm asking, what are the tools that the judge president uses in your division to ensure that there is no backlog? Exactly what it is that you do. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Maybe you could use another word for tools,
Yeah.
just to
Alright.
simplify it further.
How does the judge president in your division go about in terms of allocating cases and in terms of motivating judges to finish matters timeously? What exactly does the judge president do to ensure that matters are in and out of the system and that there is no backlog? That's what I'm trying to get at.
The judge president allocates matters to all the judges. All the judges do case flow. So what happens is that when the cases are with you, you do, you sit with counsel in order to find out which cases, and you even, pressurize in terms of, not pressurize in terms of, putting pressure on them, but at least getting them to start and finish their matters so that they are finished early or efficiently.
Can we deal with my second question, namely
Yes, JP.
the use of languages in the courts? Which of the two prevailing schools of thought do you belong to? The one that says all 11 official languages in the country must be developed fully so that at the end of the day there is jurisprudence in Setswana, Xhosa, Tshivenda, and so on? Or the one that says, given the limited resources for now, let us use English as the language of record so that at the end of the day we speak one language and one language only, sorry, for purposes of the record?
I belong to the school of thought that says, yes, all the 11 languages are protected by the Constitution. However, the language of record should be English.
Thank you, Judge President. Commissioner Nyambi.
Thank you, CJ. Afternoon,
Good
Judge Pakati.
afternoon, Commissioner.
As we're dealing with this leadership position, you were very clear about your relationship with Judge Home. So if maybe you can share with us your relationship with Judge Patswane.
Okay. That's a difficult question in terms of, we talk, we relate, but that relationship of, the closeness is just, it's just not there. We do, for instance, when we arrived here, I sent her a message first before she arrived and said, good luck with your interview. And she responded and she said, good luck. That's what I'm trying to say, that we do talk, but there is that tension.
I like the honesty. You talked about the issue of the division that you are experiencing in that division. Do you think the appointment of either of you will assist in dealing with the division that are currently happening in Northern Cape?
I think that this commission is capable of appointing someone who is able to do that. My problem is that if all of us in Kimberley know what was happening in terms of why is everything done by whoever, maybe that is going to be a problem. I don't know.
Can you see yourself submitting under the leadership of Patswane?
Let me tell you something that I forgot to mention. When I informed JP Homo over the phone, oh no, I started with JP Tlaleti. I phoned him, fortunately he was in Kimberley. And I said to him, JP, can I see you? And then he said yes. And then I said to him, I received nominations and I would want to apply. And then he said to me, you have a right to apply. You may apply if you want to apply. It's your decision. So he didn't stand in my way of applying. And I said to him, JP, you know that I'm a bit scared of JP Homo, to just tell him myself first. Just go there on my behalf and tell him. And then he did that. He phoned him. I don't know how the conversation went. And then he came back to me and he said to me, yes, I have spoken to him. You must then phone him. I said, I'm not strong enough to face him that day because JP told me that he didn't take kindly to that I was going to apply. And then I called him the following day, and then he told me that I should wait because Patswane must go there, meaning this commission, and if she doesn't get the position, then I can apply for April. If she does, she will hold the position for 2 to 3 years, and then I can apply because she has been asked to go somewhere else. I don't know where, he didn't tell me. She has to go somewhere else, so she will hold this position about 2 to 3 years. She has been invited to go somewhere else because can I continue? Because
Yes, please proceed.
because she said she was not ready to go wherever she was called. I don't know where that place is. And then I should wait. That's why I should wait. I have been waiting for Patswane since 2009 when she came. No one can just say to me that having been a magistrate these years, and she just came out from what can I say, from practice, and then she's ready before I am ready. Because if even Judge Schwartzman indicated in our course that the course was not an easy one, and he used to say that even the magistrates that are here understand better because they deal with judgment writing on a daily basis. So,
My last question,
Is that one answered? Can you submit to
oh,
the
yes, I
leadership
was-
of, that
yes,
was the question
yes,
of
I forgot that.
Patswani J, if
Yes,
appointed
yes.
DJP.
Yes, and then what happened was after I spoke to JP and he indicated to me that I should not raise my hand, I went back to JP Tlaletsi and I said to him, I spoke to JP and I did not say what JP said to him. I just said I spoke to him. And then he said to me, right, now that you have spoken to JP, go and talk to Judge Patswani. So I went to her, it was a Friday. I went to her chambers and I greeted her and I said to her, my sister, I want to tell you that I have received some nominations and I would want to apply. And I could see in her face that she didn't take kindly to that. And she said, I'm going to quote her now, what she said. She said, I cannot say you should not apply, but I am not ready for any competition. And after she said that, I said to her, do not take it as a bad competition. Just take it as two women in this division are able to go and face the JSC. And it is the duty of the JSC to see who of us is capable to do the job. And she said, in response, oh no, I said, you know what, if we together go, I will support you if you get appointed. That's what I said to her. And I expect the same, that if I get recommended, you support me. And she did not respond to that. Then I left her.
Can I take it that you've answered the question whether,
yeah,
okay.
let's deal with
Yes, Commissioner?
let's deal with the comments of the law bodies. The PLA is of the view that you still need some acting capacity. And the National Forum of Advocates it's indicating that they can't comment because we are unknown to them. If you can comment about the two.
I don't know what they mean if they say I'm unknown to them, because I've been in that division since 2009. And in actual fact, I wouldn't be surprised with that comment from the bar. Is it the bar? No, I don't know why they say. In actual fact, they are free to say whatever they want to. It's their opinion. The BLA may say that I need acting appointment because I did not act. And I'm coming here at a disadvantage because the acting appointment was given to someone and not to other judges. And now we are not on par. That is the situation at this stage. I'm at a disadvantage because I was not given an opportunity.
My last one, if you can share with us your understanding of judicial accountability.
Judicial accountability is that judges account via their judgments because they have to, isn't it that when you do something, you need to have a reason why you did that. That's why in cases you give reasons as to why you make a kind of decision, because you should account. And if someone is not satisfied with what you have, your decision, then they can go to the appeal courts.
Thank you, CJ.
And they also, there's also review processes.
Good afternoon, Judge Pakati.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Perhaps I should start by disclosing that you and I were at university together,
Yes.
but we are not friends. Commissioner Malema. I have a few questions for you.
I can't hear you.
Few questions for you from me.
Yes.
In a previous interview before this body, you indicated that some of your colleagues in the Northern Cape did not accept you and actually did all they could to make you feel unwelcome in that division. Has that situation changed?
Because the two colleagues are not there anymore. So that is not the situation anymore.
We know that the judicial bench is very rough terrain and judges are known to be a difficult bunch. Now, you don't seem to disagree with the personality that retired Judge President Khomu attributes to you of being this silent person, whatever that means. Now, what I want to know from you is whether, in your opinion, you have what it takes, that is, if you are appointed, you have what it takes to marshal the troops, so to speak, and get your colleagues to rally around you. In other words, simple words, can you assert yourself and be firm when the need arises?
I can affirm myself because this would not be the first leadership position that I will be holding. And the fact that I'm not participating is honestly not true. In this report that I compiled, I mentioned somewhere that when we were talking about the regional courts, what needed to be prioritized in the regional courts was that, because I know I was a regional magistrate, that the regional magistrates will have a lot of cases for the day, and they will instead prioritize criminal matters rather than civil matters. So it was my idea that I shared at that stage that what if in the regional court there's a regional magistrate who is dedicated to civil matters, so to see to it that there's no backlog.
My last question is, as you are well aware, diversifying the bench in terms of gender has proven a huge challenge. And we are still a long way from achieving what the Constitution expects of us in this regard. Do you have any ideas that you can share with this body as to how we can address this challenge? In the perspective of judges. Yeah, as a judicial officer, and especially if you are appointed into a leadership position.
Okay. My contribution would be, you know, if women need to be empowered, they need to be empowered. And it is, for instance, now in the Northern Cape, we have 3 women that are assisting us. So helping them get to wherever they have to get would be at least helping women to get better positions in the judiciary.
Thank you, President Maya. Commissioner Malema.
Thank you very much, CJ. Judge, what type of people do you regard as people who don't deserve your respect?
I don't know if I understand your question.
It's a very simple question. What type of people you look at and say, this one will never get my respect?
Oh, no, there's none. if I were to tell you that in my division, everyone from cleaner to officer to what, all of them, they get respect from me. Everyone.
Now, Judge, let's leave the division and the interview. Let's have just a general discussion about life. I've got no respect for rapists. I've got no respect for corrupt people. I've got no respect for people who steal from the poor. So I will not respect such people. Generally in life, not in a division where I work, in life. People who beat up women, I've got no regard for them. What type of people do you regard as people who are not deserving of your respect?
You know, because there's a constitution that upholds everybody's right, I cannot be judging people when I have no matter in front of me, because they are not guilty until proven guilty.
Okay, let me help you. I'm going to ask the same question until we find an answer. Do you respect people who divide colleagues?
I don't know what you really mean by respect, because, you know, if someone divides colleagues and they are in a senior position, I don't know what I can do in order to change them, because I'm junior, they are senior.
I don't want you to do anything. Do you respect a person who divides colleagues?
Okay, I will say no.
Do you respect a person who practices nepotism?
No,
Do you respect a person who is a factionalist?
no.
So why do you respect Homu, who divides colleagues and even prefer one colleague over the other, according to a testimony?
It is because it's not, I don't want to look at his bad side only, because he affected my life on the positive side also.
So if we were to ask that Judge President Homu must come back, for whatever reasons, to be a judge president, will you vote with us after the things you said about him here?
I don't know if I will do that.
This is a person you respect.
That's why I'm saying I don't know if I will do that. I will have to decide and think about it.
So you will never respect a person who's got preferences over other people, even outside a due process.
Even outside due process.
I mean, to say this one is going to be a JP outside this process, it's an unacceptable practice. You'll agree with that. When a person says, no, I've got my own preferred deputy JP, and there are other colleagues who are applying for the same, but you are the boss preferring other people even before they get subjected to a due process.
Oh, I see. I see, no.
Why would you respect someone who does such things?
It's just I give him respect. I don't know, he's an elder, and I don't want to be, what he did it for himself. That's why I'm able to come here and say it.
Now, elders are allowed to do unconstitutional things, according to a
No.
judge. You said you respect him as an elder.
No, but then the respect that I'm talking about is I can't talk to him anyhow. That's the respect I mean.
Judge, I don't want any other respect except the respect of colleagues here.
Okay.
Yes, we are in a professional arrangement. We are not in some village under the tree. We are in a professional arrangement here. I'm saying to you, here is a man who gives judiciary, according to the things you said, he gives judiciary a bad image. Should we respect such people who prefer other people, who damage the good image of this institution called the judiciary? Should we respect such people?
No.
And therefore, why would you come here and say to us, you've got the highest respect of a man you described in a manner you did, professionally?
It's because I wanted to also appreciate the fact that he has been a mentor to me. I can't wish that part away. He was a mentor to me. That's why I said the report that he wrote was also shocking to me, because we never had problems before. I always thought that we are on the same page until the report came out.
You respect Judge Patswan?
I do.
Will you call it, hey, JP and subject, DJP and subject yourself to a leadership if she gets appointed?
I will do so.
Do you strive for unity where you work?
I do.
And why are you not having the type of a relationship we expect from colleagues between you and Judge Patswan?
Why do I not? Can you repeat that?
Why are you not having the type of a relationship we expect of colleagues between you and Judge Patswan?
It's because you must remember that there was this run-up to this commission. So that's why maybe there is, there's that kind of tension, because now we are competing.
And then we expect that hardened attitude to disappear after the appointment, or will it continue?
Isn't it that after the appointment, if she gets appointed, I have already mentioned that I said to her, I will support her. And that is what I told her, that if I get recommended, she may do the same.
But it's maturity not expecting the two judges to accept that these are professional positions. They don't belong to you, they belong to the people of South Africa. And therefore, if any of you gets appointed or contest for these positions, you don't have to be personal like that. You are too senior people in society to be personal to a point where you even create hostility amongst yourselves, to a point that you said the things you said about her. Why didn't you work towards creating a better relationship even before these interviews as leaders?
I did. I even approached JP. In fact, JP Tlaleti went to my chambers and we spoke about it. We spoke about it. I even said to Judge Tlaleti, I would have loved that when we come here, we have a better relationship.
All these negative things you said about JP Khomu, and you must understand me, I appreciate the comments JP Khomu made about you, and if he was here, we're going to ask him about those issues. But you said some things about him, and you are the one who's being interviewed here. All these things, negative things you say about JP Khomu, have you raised them with him? Have you raised them with the Chief Justice or any other body in the judiciary as a way of showing that, firstly, you are leadership and you are a responsible judge who will not allow wrongdoing to continue, especially when it has come to your attention?
I only received this report when it was sent to me That was after I had applied.
Not the report, the things you said about Judge Homu here. Have you raised them with any senior person or anybody, the body which has been established by the JSC or any other?
No, I didn't.
So why do you raise them here now, when Judge Homu is not here to answer for himself and say the things you say about him?
Even if he was here, I would have said these things because this is what happened.
But you didn't say them to him. If you are that brave and you are the leader who wants to be a deputy judge president, why didn't you say to Judge Homu, why do you keep one person acting when we are all here, we've got capacity to act, and only say it in his absence in an interview that is publicized all over the world without even bringing such to his attention?
I think it would have been the same because he says, I want things to go my way. Maybe that could have not been a proper way of dealing with it. Having him saying that I want things to go my way, which is not correct.
Judge, he says such things because you raised your hand. If you don't want people to say such things about you, keep your hand in the pocket. You raised your hand, and therefore you invited people to make comments about you. He didn't raise any hand. He's not here to answer for himself. You raised the things that you never raised with him before. What type of behavior is this?
It is the same, Commissioner, that when these things that he's raising here, he's raising them because I raised my hand. For all these years that I worked with him, he never brought these things to my attention.
Did you bring the things you said about him to his attention?
No, I didn't.
So why are you raising them now? Is it revenge?
No, it's not.
Are you genuine about them?
I am.
Why didn't you raise them with him or the Chief Justice or any other body in the judiciary? If you are genuine about them, where else have you raised these things except today here? Because Judge Homu said negative things about you.
But he should also have raised these things before. These things, he says, come from 2010. I have been with him from 2010 up to now. And nothing, there was no report against me. Not at all.
Judge Homu is not on an interview to answer for the things he said about you. You are here, we're interviewing you. Why, if you are genuine, do you only raise these issues now here about Judge Homu and you didn't raise them before?
It's because I'm responding to his comments.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Commissioner Malema. Minister?
Justice, thank you very much. Actually, my calculation of the number of years that you served as a magistrate comes to 21, because if I understood you correctly, you said from 1991 to
Yes.
2012.
Yes, Minister.
There's been questions about the quality of experience as a magistrate compared to that of a judge, that there's a vast difference. Should we put any much emphasis on the preparation that your stint as a magistrate had on you in preparing you to assume, firstly, the role of judgeship, and secondly, possibly assuming a leadership role within the judiciary, upper judiciary itself?
I think it should have an impact because it's an experience that I acquired. I was dispensing justice then, even though not at the same level. I am still dispensing justice now.
I'm not sure if your question is satisfactory.
Yes.
Yes, it's both dispensing justice, but I specifically raised the issue of the level, the quality of justice compared to the two levels. Do do you feel that, apart from the fact that you were dispensing justice, that the level at which you were dispensing justice was weighty enough for us to take into consideration those 21 years of your professional life? Should we attach much weight, as I sought to inquire, to that particular experience? And if so, why?
I think so. It should be taken into account because that was not the only thing that I did in order to prepare myself to be a judge. I also attended a course that was held in a seminar for aspirant judges.
No, we can get to those aspects later. I'm just confining myself to 21 years of experience in the lower judiciary as a magistrate. And I'm trying to get a sense of whether, how much weight I should attach to that period of your career development in assessing your readiness to assume a leadership position within the judiciary. Should I not attach significant weight to it? Because it's quite a significant period of your career as a lawyer, generally.
I think, to be fair, significance should be attached to it
Yes, why?
because I started in very low levels and I grew in the department and I worked throughout. And even when I am here, the experience that I had then is not irrelevant at this stage. Because the qualities of leadership that I had then wouldn't be much of a difference now.
Okay. The concept of separation of powers has been the subject of much public discourse, especially in recent years. Included in that discourse is the issue of perceptions of judicial overreach. Do you want to comment on that?
Judicial independence, because there are three legs: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Each one of them should be independent. The judiciary also independent, and each one of them should not encroach on the other at the same time. So a judge cannot be seen to be giving a decision that was supposed to be given by the executive or the legislature.
Okay. And in terms of bias, again, there's perceptions that sometimes people's inherent biases, be it of a religious, political, cultural, or other nature, subconsciously or consciously influence their worldview and equally encroach into their ability to adjudicate objectively. Do you agree or do you disagree with that perception?
I'm sorry, Minister, your question was too long. Can you just...
Your background as a person, there is a perception that can influence your judgment. Do you agree or disagree with that perception? And that sometimes it can cloud your judgment to deliver a fair judgment.
I don't
Whether it's
understand
your
the-
religious background, whether it's your cultural background, whether it's your convictions in life of some form or another, that sometimes this sitting at the back of your mind can influence the fairness or otherwise of your judgment. Would
No,
you
it shouldn't.
agree or disagree?
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't cloud. A judge should be impartial.
Shouldn't, but does it, in your experience, actually happen or never happens?
With me or with other judges,
Well, within the judiciary generally, you, other judges, what has been your observation? You've been on the bench for many years, both as a magistrate and as a judge.
I think sometimes it happens. That's why when someone does that and they err, there's an appeal court.
And the appeal system is a way of cleansing the system of those impurities, if you like. Would you?
When
Put it that
someone
way.
is not happy with with the judge's decision, at least they have an option to appeal or to review the judgment.
And lastly from me, the position you're applying for is a position of leadership. It's not just a position of judgeship. In other words, the ability to be a good judge is not adequate, but you in addition need to have leadership qualities to effectively discharge your responsibilities in that higher position. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that, yes.
What do you think are the essential ingredients that make up that leadership quality that is needed for somebody in that position? And do you believe you are possessed of those qualities?
It is patience with your subordinates, to be able to give guidance, to see to it that your subordinates, okay, let me not speak about subordinates, let me speak about fellow judges. You, because the only way that there would be harmony is when you're transparent, you are able to command respect. You also respect them as colleagues. You maintain collegiality and see to it that justice is dispensed fairly and effectively.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Minister. Chairperson?
Thank you, CJ. Good afternoon, Judge Pakati.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
You finished filling in your questionnaire on the 28th of June. At that point, you also indicated that you had you had 4 matters which were partly heard. What is the progress in this regard?
I just want to get to those. Is it paragraph 17?
I think so, ma'am.
Okay. The first one, State versus Brooks, is still running. State versus Cluster was finalized.
Can I correct you?
Yes.
The matters which you said were, okay, please continue.
The State versus Monapula has been finalized, and Fries versus Belang is still running. So 2 of those matters are still running.
You also had 4 reserved judgments.
What paragraph is that?
You had, one of the cases was the MEC, Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, and Nehau. You had Johnson and the Sheriff. You had Jacques Fanas and Nicholas Johannes. Do they ring any bell?
Oh, yes, those matters have been finished, all of them.
Thank you. You responding to the judge here, you said when women need to be empowered, they need to be empowered. Is this empowerment at all costs? Because women need to be empowered?
Isn't it that we're talking about gender imbalance? If you want to balance, then we can also empower women to balance the position.
Yes, Judge, is it at all cost?
Not at all cost.
So in fact, there must be a value that is
Yes.
attached.
Yes,
So in fact, we must worry about the type of women we're bringing into the judiciary,
yes,
because we shouldn't just be bringing in women because we are bringing in women because
Yes.
we have to empower women. It is also surely about the quality of the justice we want to dispense to other women out there, agreement. So it is not at all cost, would you agree?
no, it's not at all cost.
What are your weaknesses and what are your strengths?
My strengths are that I do my work diligently, and I pressurize myself if I have to, and my weakness would be that in that process, I expect others to work like I do, and expect them to, in the process of building them, to be able to be better people later on.
Judge Pakati, you said that Judge Komu mentored you,
Yes,
that he was the positive influence, that you are where you are today because of him.
yes,
You also said that you do not think the comments he made were fair,
yes.
but do you not see any coincidence or similarity between the comments made by the legal bodies reflecting on your readiness to that of Judge Komu?
Can you just repeat
He,
the question?
amongst the many things that he
Yes.
says, he indicated that you were not ready. The bodies say that one says we don't want to comment because we're not even sure we know her, meaning that you are still coming up. The other one says they don't think you've garnered enough experience. And there are similarities between the 3 sentiments expressed.
There might be, but that is their opinion.
You said one of your strengths is hard work. And earlier on, you said you actually left your chambers at 3 a.m. and you had to attend a function, the next day. That's how diligent you are.
Yes.
Hasn't then 3 months, which you earlier on told us was what puts your division and your province above others on caseload? Haven't you gone a little bit over the 3 months since you filled in your questionnaire on your judgments?
No, not with these that I submitted.
June?
The ones that I said they were still pending.
You said of the 4 matters which were half-heard, 2 were pending. And then all these 4 are done. The ones where you
Yes.
had reserved judgments? Okay. What do you think are the challenges? If you look back at your track records that you have met, and is there any matter which, if you look back, you would think you yourself would want to disqualify yourself on?
Sometimes you feel like worried after you have given a judgment and say, I wonder if I did right. You get worried. And because at least there's a method or there's a recourse for someone if they are not happy with your judgment, that they can take it on appeal.
I thought you would repeat that, Judge, because I have a problem with a presiding officer who takes comfort in that people have a recourse to go on appeal, because the fact of the matter we know is that we know that most of the South Africans are indigent, cannot afford appeals, and therefore actually suffer because of bad judgment. So shouldn't presiding officers actually try to be we can't be accurate, we can't be perfect, but should we take comfort in the fact that there is an appeal mechanism which we know most South Africans can't access?
No, we can't take comfort in that. That's why when one deals with their judgments, they do research and make sure that at least the judgment is a proper judgment.
Isn't it why then, Judge, why when people who have mentored you say to you, you are not ready, isn't it a good advice?
I think I have stated the reason why.
No, I didn't want to get into the she said and I said. I didn't want to get into that. I am specifically saying if somebody who has mentored you and you believe that this person has mentored you says to you, I do not think you are ready, and because we are interested in dispensing justice that is accessible, that is quick, that is as less full of mistakes as possible, because we, the indigenous people, can't afford. Isn't it a good advice if we are advised we are not ready to take stock and to just look into ourselves at our own readiness?
I thought that if there's a report, I needed to respond. And I understand what we are saying, but this is not a fair report as far as I'm concerned. It is not a fair report. If it was fair, I would be saying to you, yes, you would listen to that.
CJ, thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Norman?
Thank you, Chief Justice. My questions have been.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Singh?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Very quickly, Judge Pakati. Do you think Judge Como would have done any of this writing to us out of malice? And just following on what Commissioner Madisa said, he's not doing it for your own personal growth and development?
Like I'm saying, it's not a fair report. It is not a fair report. I don't think it's a coincidence that when every other judge applies, there is a negative report.
All right, that's your view, Chief Justice, and you can stand with your view. I mean, I've worked with Judge Como for quite a few years now, and I have a different impression of Judge Como, and that's my view. You said earlier on that because you didn't have an acting stint, you are at a disadvantage. Now, should the Commission consider somebody who has had an acting stint, who has had some experience in the position that is vacant now, against somebody who may not have, for whatever reason, you may not have acted? And how do you, as an individual, propose to ameliorate the fact that you were disadvantaged? Thank you.
It is not my fault that I was not given an opportunity. I get if I was not given an opportunity, in fact, it's not myself only who was not given. None of us in the Northern Cape were given any opportunity except the one candidate, meaning which, if that did not have an intention of eliminating other competitors, I'm not very sure.
Chief Justice, I think my question is this disadvantage. We understand you were not given an acting position and the reasons why, but do you think this should be held against you, the fact that you are not given an acting position when we consider the successful person for this?
It can't be
Why
taken
not?
up
And why
against
not?
me, because I do not give myself an opportunity. I was never invited to do that. And in actual fact, the one administrative duty that I was given by JP, I did it successfully until he stopped me by an SMS. He never complained that I did not do it.
Chief Justice, yeah, that's exactly what I was wanting to hear from you in part, that even though you may not have acted, but you think you have the qualities to fill this position because of things that you've been watching over a period of time. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yes, I have interacted with the regional court president together with the chief magistrate and the regional head in actual fact. And when I was at that stage, we were busy with a problem that was in Hope Town. There's a challenge there of accommodation. And we had set up a meeting to talk about it, to see how best we can solve the problem. And when I spoke to JP about it, because the regional court president had written me a report, he said I should stop it immediately. I should call it off, and he will give it to Judge Paswani to do it.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. Commissioner Stock?
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Good afternoon, Judge Pakati.
Afternoon, Commissioner.
Yes. The position that we are interviewing you for currently, I'm sure you are aware that it was previously advertised.
Yes.
And then the interviews were held. Ne? Am I correct to
Yes.
assume that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the only thing that I wanted to find out from you, when the position was previously vacant and then the interviews were held, is there any specific reason
why you did not avail yourself at that time. Can you take us into confidence?
It is because I indicated earlier
Okay.
the reason why I did not apply at that stage. And the reason why I applied this time around, I felt that it was not fair to give me an opportunity. That was preventing my constitutional right of applying for a post that has been advertised.
No, thank you, Judge Pakati. My next question to you is regarding, you have actually indicated earlier on when you were giving us an understanding of your view around what do you term as a leader, because this is a leadership position you are being interviewed for. Now, part of the characteristics that you have actually shared with us, you said a leader is somebody that must actually take responsibility. Now, I want to know, because part of the issues that you reflected on, you spoke about the divisions that are there in the division. So I want to know from your side, as a potential candidate, what is it that you have done to ensure that the divisions that are there are actually being dealt with, so that there can be collegiality amongst the colleagues that are there, the judges that are there, and then the issues that are there are actually adequately dealt with?
Like I say, what we do is we go together in the tea room. We would sit as colleagues, and I would also, if one needs to bounce a matter with a colleague, you would go to a colleague, despite the fact, for instance, in the case of the two colleagues who did not approve of my appointment in the Northern Cape, I used to go to them still and seek advice if I had to seek advice. And we would go out as judges, all of us, either with families or without families, just to build that kind of a relationship. And at this point, if the tension is still there, it needs to be taken away, because, for instance, communicating with the colleagues on a regular basis, bouncing our challenges and our strengths or weaknesses, we need to do it together.
Okay. Lastly, Chief Justice, what's your understanding of judicial independence?
Judicial independence is that when a judge does matters, judicial matters, you cannot be influenced by outside forces. You need to exercise your independence, which is entrenched in the Constitution.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Stock. Commissioner Nkosi Thomas.
Thank you, Chief Justice. And good afternoon, Judge Pakati.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
I just have only one question for you, please. What is your vision, and how would you go about realizing it in the event of you being appointed to this position?
My vision is that justice be accessible to everyone in the Northern Cape, taking into account the far-flung areas in the division, and to curb the backlogs that we have in the division magistracy, especially in the regional court, because the magistracy is now at about 400 and something cases that are causing backlogs. So that is the other challenge is the court personnel and space, because in some of the courts, a regional magistrate will sit with a magistrate in one office. Those need to be attended to.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner. The 2 to 3 months turnaround you alluded to, did I understand you to mean that the reserve judgments are delivered within 2 to 3 months?
No, Chief Justice, I was referring to case flow. If a file has been brought to a judge, then they see to it that it's effectively dealt with within that period.
Okay. Are you aware of any judgments that have been reserved for more than 8 months in your division? As part of your preparation for the interview, did you check whether there are judgments that have been reserved for more than 8 months so that you can advise what you intend to assist the JP to do if appointed?
I did ask Chief Justice, but I was told that I was not given that part of the statistics. The statistics that I was given was about case flow management.
So you don't know whether there are judgments that have been referred beyond the period that the code of judicial code of ethics requires that a person be referred to the JCC if they exceed.
I do not have that record, Chief Justice.
Okay, I was going to engage you because I've got 6 reserve judgments here, 1 for 11 months and the other 5 for 10 months reserved. I was going to find out if you are, what your comment is, but that's fine, you're not aware. Now, I am concerned that in applications, in motion proceedings where evidence is not to be tendered, you find a matter heard over a period of the whole day, 2 days, or even 3 days. I don't understand it because sitting in the Constitutional Court, we hear an application for 1 day, even if it means we must stop at 6 or 8. What can be done, especially in view of the delays in our courts, to shorten these long delays, listening to one person speaking for 3-5 hours, saying the same thing at times? What can be done?
Chief Justice, what can be done is that because as a judicial officer, you are in control of the proceedings. If counsel tend to ask one and the same question, you just indicate to them that that has been dealt with, so that, and in actual fact, you have read the papers, you are prepared, but at the same time, you need to give them an opportunity to be heard.
Well, let me put it this way. What, in your experience, explains these long periods for dealing with applications? What is the reason and what can be, what in your division, or observing what happens generally in other divisions, what explains these long periods for hearing applications and what can be done?
I think, Chief Justice, the case flow in that case would take, would help, so that before they go to court, some of the issues have been dealt with.
I have listened to or watched judgments delivered for as long as 5 hours, the whole day, at times even 2 days. Remember, for instance, the Pistorius case. What, is that the way to go, or can that be changed? And if so, how?
Chief Justice, it depends how big the matter is. I want to believe, because if it's a big matter and then a judgment needs to be read over and you know, in court. I don't see how it must not be delivered, because the parties need to know why the judge find this way or that way.
Well,
But
yes.
but I think that sometimes we can be long-winded in our judgments. If we attend to the real issues, we should know the real issues and attend to the real issues.
What is the solution? To completely doing away with judgments that are read out for as long as 3 hours, the whole day, or 2 days, or 1.5 days, considering the backlog. As a leader, what would you suggest should be done?
I would suggest, Chief Justice, that if we can utilize the court time that is allocated in a day, so that we do that, because sometimes this delay of giving a long judgment is because the matter needs to be translated.
Why can't a judgment be delivered in 45 minutes?
Like I said, Chief Justice, some people
However long it may, why can't you summarize it? Who wants to hear that long story? Why can't you summarize it so that people understand the gist of your reasons for arriving at your decision, rather than telling them what they said? They heard themselves when they were saying it. They heard other witnesses where they were saying it. Why can't you summarize and capture the essence of what your decision is about?
This is
to
what
save
I said.
court time.
Sorry, this is what I was saying, Chief Justice, that other judges are long-winded. And if they are long-winded, that is going to happen. But if you understand the issues and attend to the issues, that can be kept.
Is it not a misplaced understanding that in criminal matters you must say everything that was said, read out the whole judgment from the beginning to the end?
No, Chief Justice, I don't think there's a need to regurgitate what was said
Yes.
during the trial, because everyone was here. They know what they said. They know what the other witness was saying.
Thank you, ma'am. You're excused.
Thank you, Chief Justice.